In this video, we're going to be looking at how we can use the idea of 100% for converting between fractions and decimals as well. One way to convert a value into a percentage is to treat the percentage symbol as if it was a unit value, like we have centimeters, meters, dollar sign, etc. What does that mean for us? So we need to remember that 100% is the same as saying one whole. So we've got 100% of something, you have all of it. This means that we can convert from a percentage by dividing by 100%. So dividing something by the whole. We can also convert into a percentage by multiplying by 100%. Now, the caution that came up right at the start should be here now. And it's just to remind us that we are treating the percentage symbol at the moment as if it was a unit, but it is not actually a unit. It works for us in the concepts that we're understanding right now, but the percentage symbol is not actually a unit symbol. It just represents that something's out of 100. So again, we are using it in these calculations we're about to do as if it was a symbol to be used like a unit symbol, but it's not actually. Hopefully that makes sense to you. Let's move on. So if we're going to convert from a percentage into a decimal, here is how we can do that using the idea of 100%. So if we have this example 3% and we want to write that as a decimal, we can convert that from the percentage that it is by dividing it by 100%. So the 3% that we have, dividing it by the 100%, which would be a whole something. So we can write that as, here we go, 3% divided by 100%. Okay. What happens here is those two percentage symbols effectively cancel each other out. Okay, we don't really need to understand exactly why that is right now, but suffice to say we've got a 3%, so we've got a percent symbol on the left-hand side of the division symbol, and we have a percentage sign on the right-hand side. So we're going to effectively cancel them out or remove them to give ourselves the equation of 3 divided by 100. Now again, notice I put a little arrow between the two because 3% divided by 100% is not technically equal to 3 divided by 100, but for our purposes, we are writing this equation out. Now that we've got 3 divided by 100, we know that when we divide a number by 100, that is the same as moving the decimal place 2 spaces to the left. So for each of the zeros in the 100, or if it was 1,000, for example, and so on, we can move it to the left. So dividing by 100 means move the decimal place 2 spaces to the left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by writing 3 like I've got it here. So remember, when you've got a whole number like 3, you technically got a decimal place straight after it and as many zeros to the right as you want. And you've also technically got as many zeros to the left-hand side of 3 as you want. We just don't normally show them because if you've got a whole number, you have no decimal or fractional part, and you don't need zeros at the start of a number. But for what we're about to do, where we want to move the decimal point, it's often useful to show a few zeros either side so you've got somewhere to move. So with that in mind, again, we take our decimal point from where it is and we move it 1 space to the left and then a 2nd space to the left. That is the effect of dividing by 100. So we can now rewrite that as equal to 0.03. Okay, dividing it by 100 becomes 0.03. So that is the final answer we're looking for. 3% is the same as saying 0.03. Now I've just realized, of course, I shouldn't have technically put equals between them because 3.0 is not 0.03, but I think you understand what I'm saying. So 3% is equal to 0.03. And we got there by dividing the 3 by 100, as we've shown here. So hopefully this is making sense to you. Let's look at the other type of conversion that we need to do, and that is converting a fraction into a percentage. Okay, so often we will look at a fraction and need to turn that into percentage. So we might talk about the fractions, how many of something out of a total we have, and we want to know what the fractions, what the percentage of that would be. So here's an example. We have 3 over 8, or 3/8. Okay, we want to turn that into a percentage. What is 3/8 of something if we were to show that as a percentage? So we can convert from a fraction into a percentage by multiplying by 100. So before when we divided by 100, now we are multiplying by 100%. Okay, so if we write that out, multiplying 3 over 8 by 100% gives us 3 over 8 multiplied by 100%. It's actually the equation you need to write. Now, we need to remember that 100, the number 100 as a fraction, is 100 over 1. So any whole number is that number over 1, right, with 1 being our denominator. So we now rewrite our equation as 3 over 8 multiplied by 100 over 1 with the percentage sign still at the end. Now that's important because we hopefully know by now how we multiply fractions, right? We want a numerator and a denominator that we can multiply. So by rewriting that 100 as 100 over 1, we can more easily see how to do the next step. So we'll now follow our normal multiplication of fractions process, and that is to multiply the numerators of the two fractions. So we've got 3 times 100, and multiply the denominators, 8 times 1. Still got the percentage sign on the end. We're treating it as if it was a unit. It's not really, but we're just keeping it there to remember. So now, of course, that equals 300 over 8 with the percent sign on the end. Now we need to simplify that fraction. So we've got 300 over 8, and again, we're just going to start simplifying that using our normal methods. So the first thing I can see is I could divide both the top and the bottom by 4, okay? So if I do the division by 4 on top and bottom, I'm going to get that as an answer now of 75 over 2. So 300 divided by 4 is 75, that's my numerator. 8 divided by 4 is 2, that's my denominator. I can't see how I can simplify that any further, but I can take it from what it is now, which is an improper fraction, and turn it into a mixed number. And in most cases, you end up doing that. So I'm looking at how many 2's, how many of our denominator, go into our numerator. So if I divide 75 by 2, I'm going to get 37 and 1 left over. Okay, so I'm going to get 37 and remainder 1. So my answer becomes 37, and the 1 remainder is my numerator of my fractional part. So I end up with an answer of 37.5%. Okay, we've kept the percent sign on the end. So most of this process is just normal multiplication of fractions, where you multiply numerators and denominators, then you simplify, potentially get a mixed number at the end, but we're keeping that percentage sign at the end. Okay, so hopefully these two methods make sense for you. If you are going converting from a fraction into a percentage, this is the process. You multiply by 100. If you're going from a percentage into a decimal, like we saw in the previous slides, you divide by 100%. Okay, have a go at these two examples for yourself in your book if you need to, and you can go on and have a look at some of the questions that will be assigned to you.